Alright guys, today we're going to be building a full CS2 loadout for a grand total of $25. This jump up from $10 to $25 gets us some significant upgrades. Now, you aren't going to have a knife and glove combo, but I happen to have my new one on just because I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments down below. And what this also means is, with a $25 budget, you still don't get an agent, but good news for you guys, Quacks from the community has provided an agent for us to give away today. It's Special Agent Ava. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and then leave a comment down below rating my new knife and glove combo out of 10. A big thanks to Quacks for providing the giveaway, and let's cook this loadout. Alright, so we're no longer chilling on a flashback or a ticket to hell for the USP. We're going to be going for the Alpine Camo. In field test, this will run you $1.41. All these prices are from the 20th of March, by the way. And this is one you can hunt for because you can see there, you get a little bit of sort of like a blue pattern where there's the heat-treated, case-hardened pattern areas. However, the overpay for them can be ridiculous, but field tested for $1.40 is solid. My P250 of choice is still going to remain the Valence, because I think for 25 cents at minimum wear, it just has a really nice value for money offering. And honestly, it's kind of the same for the Desert Eagle. I think a minimum wear tilted for just over $50 is still the best move you can make here. And honestly, I think previously I would look for upgrades, but with how good this is, you don't really have to. Now, for whatever reason, if you hate the tilted, then I think spending a little bit more and going for a trigger discipline at $1.40 minimum wear or field test, it would be similar pricing to the tilted, but wears a bit more. It's a solid alternative, but definitely for me, the tilted is the better option. Dual Berettas this time, changing up a little bit with how you'll see with the future picks, how budget allocation had to change. So going cheap and cheerful here with the hideouts for 16 cents for minimum wear was the best play I could do. And then keeping those like really strong value for money vibes going, it's going to be a flame test in minimum wear for the 5.7, which will cost you about 12 cents. Now, the SMGs for the CT side, let's see what we're looking at there. We are going to have an old Roots, and it's really nice to see how well this actually looks with my gloves, but this in souvenir would cost you 14 cents. Obviously, this is it without the stickers on it, but you can imagine fairly decent artwork skin. I know the green isn't for everyone, but with the gold stickers on that, it will pop. I know not everyone uses the MP7, so for that reason, I went for a DD Pack because it's 2 cents for minimal wear, so it's almost free, if we're being real. But 2 cents for minimal wear, it gets you a skin in there, and if you don't use it, then obviously it's not been impacted the overall budget that you're looking at. And then same approach for the UMP, because you can get the Urban DD Pack for 2 cents. I know back-to-back DD Pack skins, it might not be for everyone, but when you're talking 4 cents combined for 2 weapon skins, it's kind of handy. And previously, I like to try and get minimal wear for as many things as possible, but I think going field testing for the shotguns is valid here. You only see a few cents, but I guess the Arizumi down to 8 cents for field test it. And then the likes of the Foresight goes down to 4 cents for field test. And you might wonder, why are we like really scrimping and saving as much as possible? But it's to get the best upgrades possible on the key rifles. For example, for the M4A1S, you can go and get a leaded glass for $7 on the dot. Now, I am mindful leaded glass isn't for everyone. And to be honest, the overpass lighting isn't doing absolute wonders for it. This skin is very nice in CS2 compared to CSGO. If, however, it's really not your cup of tea, Nightmare and Black Lotus in field test, both of them cost an extra $1 or $2 more, but that's basically what your alternative would be looking at. And then I really like the Emperor port pick because you get the newly added turbine. I say newly added when I should say most recently added, based on how long it's been in the game now, but turbine for 90 cents in minimal wear, and that's what I love about it. You shoot and it lights up. First skin of its kind to do this, and I want to see more of this from the artists. Up until now, the AWP has been a little bit of a tricky one, but don't worry, you can now get a field test Aetheris for $4. Now, this skin holds up pretty well in field test. Honestly, I use a battle scarred one myself, and it still looks pretty solid, so if you really want to save a bit more, you can do that. And if the Aetheris isn't your cup of tea, you could go have a look at getting a field test duality, which is almost half the price at $2.25, and that would actually open up the budget to go and get yourself the likes of the M4A1S Nightmare or Black Lotus in field test it. Then the final 2 CT weapons, we want to be cheap and cheerful here. So we have the Meow 36 for the FAMAS in field test it, and this would cost you 5 cents. And then, of course, to keep that vibe coming with the AUG, where we go for the Tomcat for a whole 8 cents. But I know most people don't use the AUG these days. Very situational weapon. Now, for all the other budget videos I've been doing, I've been trying to steer away from the Moonrise and show some nice alternatives, because I think everyone defaults to the Moonrise a little bit too much. But in this case, I think it's a good pick. I think for $1.04 minimum wear, it's a very, very strong pick. You don't have to worry about the star pattern. It's going to look good either way. Obviously, there are like 5 to 6 different Glocks, maybe more, that sit in this $1 budget or below that actually look good. So this is one where you can really just take your pick. Like, I'm adamant that people should have a nice Tech 9 skin, and here, Fubar for 9 cent in field test it isn't too bad. Yes, it's camo pattern, but it's got a little bit of shine at the top, and it almost has like it's like almost like the fade colors of the purple and the pink on the end of the gun there. So, you know what, for 9 cent, I like this. We then have another souvenir suggestion, obviously, once again, showing it without the stickers so you can see the artwork. This is the Midnight Palm, 2 cent for factory new. Again, not everyone uses ZZ, so why should I force you guys to use a lot of money in that area? Now, the Mac 10 is very similar to the Glock, where there's actually like 5+ options you could look at. I still think the light box for this loadout is the best pick because it's 16 cent, and it just means that you have that small extra amount elsewhere for the likes of getting a better AK-47. And then, speaking of just like sort of keeping it cheap to put budget elsewhere, I think the Night Riot for the PB Bison is a pretty solid pick. It'll only cost you about 5 cent, and field test it, you know what, you see somewhere coming through, but it's holding up pretty well. And then for the P90, I quite like the Grim, because in field test it, you don't actually see a crazy amount of like visual wear, and it's this like, it's like a grey black with green on it, so if you were running this with default gloves, it's going to look alright. And I hope you like the theme of black and green, because that's going to be what we have for the Get Ill as well. This is the Envy, it's 25 cent in minimal wear. Since this has been added, it gives us an absolutely wonderful budget Get Ill pick, so really happy with that. Now, we might only have 3 weapons left to showcase, but I actually have 4 AK-47 options, because once you get to a $25 budget, things open up a lot more. For example, my go-to pick that I'm going to budget for is the Ice Cold. This is $8.50 for minimal wear, and you can see it starts to hold up really well. Only a couple of scratches coming through. Again, the gradient of that green into the blue just makes this a very, very nice value for money skin. However, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and as I say, I have 3 other options. I think the one that most commonly gets suggested when I say Ice Cold is the Legion of Anubis, because for the longest time now, they've been so closely sort of paired on pricing. This in minimal wear is only 50 cent more at $9. I do like the Legion of Anubis. I think it's a decent skin, but overall, for the average CS player, I think the Ice Cold just takes that box a bit better. If you wanted to spend another 20 cent again, you could get a Nightwish in field test. Now, I've recently bought one of these, and I've been using it in minimal wear, and I actually quite like using it in game. I don't know what it is. I think it's the fact that the colors change when inspected using it. It's kind of cool. Still, though, if I was comparing it for most people, Ice Cold comes out on top. Now, if you really wanted to stick to the budget for $8.50, see on prices the Ice Cold, you can get a field tested headshot, and the headshot's a skin that actually wears pretty nicely. And again, a bit like the Nightwish, you get like, here you see greens and blues, a bit of yellow, and then when you inspect it, you're getting like reds, purples, and pinks. So I quite like skins like that. It's not always perfect for themed loadouts, because as soon as you inspect it, all of a sudden, you've got a clash with your gloves. But here, I think it's solid. So for me personally, I think the Nightwish is a bit of a sleeper pick, but for most people, I see why Headshot and Ice Cold would be the go-to. I did try to move away from the Disaster for the Scout, but field test it, 9 cent just looks so clean here, and you can put cheap paper stickers on it to sort of complete it. If you wanted something a bit different, maybe check out the Half-Tone Whirl. Then I wanted to end it off with another cheap and cheerful skin, which will be the Cyberforce. It's 9 cent minimal wear. You can make the argument that maybe I could have gone towards field tested to save that extra 2 or 3 cent, but what that does mean is this total loadout cost, if you went for the likes of the Ice Cold, and you went for the Aetheris, and you went for the Tilted Deagle, just the weapons had multiple options, you're looking at $25.22. So overall, $25 can still build you a very nice loadout. But what I do want to say is the market hit an all-time high recently, and prices are up in general, which means I was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't squeeze quite as much value into this as I used to, but that's just how it is with a live market. I'm going to end it there and stop my waffling. I do want to give you guys a reminder that Quacks has provided Special Agent Ava as a giveaway. As I said at the start, if you want to enter this, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and give my Knife and Glove combo a rating out of 10 in the comments down below. We'll pick the winner on stream in a few days' time. And outside of that, thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.